The Plumbing Marketing Profits Podcast. Interviews with million-dollar-plus plumbing and HVAC business owners on how they market and grow their companies in today's economy. Hear directly from the most successful leaders in your business and discover what they are doing to keep their phone ringing, trucks running, and businesses booming. With your host, Josh Nelson.
Well, hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me on this episode of the Plumbing and HVAC Marketing Profits Podcast. I'm really excited today to be here with Al Levi. He is a world-class expert in this space, plumbing and HVAC, marketing, as well as really business development and management. I've been following his articles on Plumbing and Mechanical Magazine for quite some time, and came in communication with him over the last couple of months through Ellen Rohr, and got my hands on a copy of his book, The 7-Power Contractor, which is the new book he just put out, which, in my opinion, is mandatory reading. If you own a plumbing or HVAC business, you have to read this book. It will open your eyes to new ways of looking at your business and really understanding why you're not having the success that you might want and desire. So, let me welcome Al to the call. Welcome, Al.
Oh, thank you so much. And now I feel the pressure to live up to that really good intro. Thank you, Josh.
No, but I've been watching you for some time, and I really, was honored when the opportunity came up, and I think this will be great value for the listeners. So let's just dive right in, Al, if you don't mind. Let's go all the way back to the starting point. I know you're a world-class expert at this point, and you do a lot of training and development. Just tell us kind of how you got started in this space and when you were actually working in the business all those years ago.
Yeah. Well, I was born into it. Hopefully a lot of your listeners will relate to this. Growing up in a family contracting business, You sit around the dinner table and you're listening to sports and you're watching, what's going on with your favorite teams. And the next question is, hey, what about this job? And then you're back to the sports team and you go, oh, you know what happened yesterday when I was at work? And that's the dyslexic, mixed up conversation that goes around. So I was born into it. There is sewerage and fuel oil pumping in my veins. I firmly believe that. From the time I was spoon-fed. Someone said, you're born with a silver spoon, except yours has oil and sewerage on it.
Nice.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I'd say that's pretty much it. So, yeah, we're a family-owned business. Still is, by the way. I'm the youngest of the brothers, and believe it or not, my older brothers are still there.
Okay.
Our company was started in 1936 out of my grandfather's gas station. My dad and then my Uncle Morty joined him, and they created a fuel oil heating business. And for those who don't know what fuel oil is, because it is primarily in the Northeast, think propane. We delivered it, serviced it, and so that was really the essence of the beginning of the company. Okay. And then my brothers and I showed up and took the company in a new direction, which was adding plumbing, gas heating, air conditioning. And today I'm happy to report my fourth generation is there. My nephew, Michael, is in the business, and my brother Richie's son-in-law, also Phil, has joined the business. So we're well on to the fourth generation and doing good. They added electrical and home automation. And there's a trick to that, but today I want to stay focused on what we do, because one of the things is we really did master about how to do that, how to take on other trades and not make them hobbies, but make them what it is we do. So the growth is still there.
And that's a recurring topic I hear from plumbing and HVAC contractors that have started in plumbing and tried to get into HVAC, stubbed their toe, weren't really able to get it off the ground. So I'm sure a lot of these guys would love to drill deeper with you on that in the future.
Good.
All right, so you had this family company in Long Island. I think you mentioned you grew it to about 70 employees while you were still there?
Yes, I was still there till 2001. September 2001, I was still there. And we had 70 employees, 25 plus trucks running every day. And I had gave my family 3 years notice that I'd be leaving my company, which is always part of my seminar as a joke, Josh. I turn to the audience and go, so your employees give you what, 2 weeks?
Yeah, right.
Maybe a week, maybe a day. I said, sometimes they just leave the keys on the dashboard and you have to, figure it out from there. So I had 3 years because I was already well in the process of systematizing the business, which just means, in plain English, the business could run day to day without me having to rush in, like a rescue or guru fireman, which is what I speak to, and always be bailing out the business. And that really is some really good companies. If you pull away the owner, it's really just the whole thing falls apart. I don't know the best way to describe it. Like those games of Jingo where you pull the one thing and the whole thing comes tumbling down.
Yeah.
So I was bound and determined. And to credit of my two older brothers and my dad, they allowed me to, really focus on creating operations manual, staffing, and of which we're on a call here today. Marketing is a system. And if you don't get your head wrapped around that, you're going to get sabotaged. And even what you were talking about, getting into these other trades, if you don't know how to market and pull these other customers in, you're setting yourself up to fail. So that's kind of the essence of it.
So you gave your 3 years notice, spent a bunch of time systematizing the business, really making sure it could operate without you, and moved on.
Yes, and I brought some great people in, but that was what was really critical. You can have great people, but if you don't have great systems to allow them, they're always having to be in the rescue mode. And so I found great people because I was not going to strand my brothers and my dad at that point. And so I left knowing that I could go off. And I also, frankly, was a little selfish. I wanted to be able to go off because I firmly believe that what I had empowered myself. And my tagline is run your contracting business with less stress and more success.
Nice.
And there's a reason that tagline resonates is because Josh, as contractors, every day we wake up, we're putting out the fire we thought we had out yesterday. And so if you can run your business with less stress and more success, I'm all in. I was making a ton of money, by the way. And it was killing me. So I was going to be a really rich dead guy. And that was not my goal.
Right.
Really not my goal.
And so the business, obviously, you said this fourth generation has entered. It's still flourishing. It's still growing. So to your credit, that 3 years notice certainly helped. And just browsing on your website, the Appleseed website, preparing for this, I see tremendous feedback from contractors you've worked with to help implement this whole 7 power contractor concept in their business, saying tremendous things about how it's helped them be more efficient, more profitable, more effective, and like you said, less stressed out with more success in their business.
Yeah, that I appreciate it, and I recognize that it said for myself I was a driver of the change, but without great people at my own company, it doesn't matter how great the systems are if people don't buy in. So the trick is to get people to buy in, and that is what I teach to the contractors that I'm lucky enough to work with, that they have to embrace these systems rather than swallow hard and accept it. And then they have to go out, and that's a great line that one of my contractors told me after working with him for a couple of years. He said to me, I get it. I said, well, what do you get? He goes, I have to be on fire for them to be lukewarm. After I stopped laughing, I said, that's really good. So if you want to talk about marketing, if you're not passionate about marketing, the chances of you having great marketing at your company is somewhere between 0 and nil. You know what I mean? You got to be on fire. Whatever that takes, you've got to find that as your mission. And each of those 7 concepts, which is planning, operations, staffing, sales, marketing, sales coaching, and financial, you've got to get yourself fired up, or you got to surround yourself with good people that can get you fired up and stay fired up.
I love that. That's powerful. Yeah, because you can't expect just to kind of, whatever, I run this company, hopefully everything goes well. If you're taking a half-hearted approach to the business, there's no way your team's going to be passionate about it either.
That's correct. And I get just to put our toe into the marketing water. And so people tell me, direct mail doesn't work. I said, well, what did you do? I made this really great piece and I mailed it once. I said, well, you violated the direct mail marketing rules. They go, what do you mean? I said, well, first of all, think about it. When you're at home, where are you when you're opening your mail? And the answer is always the same, Josh. You're in the kitchen. I said, okay, what's underneath you? I said, a trash can. I said, so if I mail a great piece once, what's the chances you're going to stop, let alone open it up and read it? I said, well, that's why I love direct mail postcards, mailed at least 3 times over 6 weeks, avoiding certain times of years. But you have to have a great construction to your card. It's got to be a great headline, or what I call a ruiner. RUINER, which just means I put you in an area of pain, and then I'm able to take it away or address it.
Yeah.
Do you ever call late at night and nobody answers the phone? Bet you do. Here's how, and then I'd have somebody give a testimonial, because whatever I say in marketing or sales, for that matter, is you're looking at me, well, that's because you said so. So somebody other than me has to testify. And that's why when you go to my website, you'll see on the Success Gallery, it's not me talking to you. It's clients, contractors who are just like you talking to you about what success they've had. And so guys who send any kind of direct mail, and this goes across the board for so much marketing. If you don't have a great headline, which goes back to the days when they actually had newspapers, nobody's going to read on. Well, today, blogs are the same. If you don't have a great headline in your blog, the chances of anybody reading on is pretty minimal. Would you agree, Josh?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Those
So
got to have it. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, without a great headline, there's no reason to read on. And then it's about, some plain English copy wrapped up into a testimonial. And then where most of us fall apart in our marketing and sale of the rest of it is there's no call to action. So now you fired me up, but you didn't tell me what you want me to do. What's the one thing you want me to do?
Yeah, absolutely. Give them a clear call to action. And I think if you handle direct mail with that, like what he just said, with that approach where you have multiple touches over a relatively consolidated period of time, with that type of messaging, it can be a lot more effective. So I guess if we just look at marketing as a whole, and we'll look at this from your past business and the contractors that you work with, because marketing's a big part of what you do. I always feel like marketing really boils down to three key areas: the market and the who you're going after, that target market that you're going to be laser focused on trying to attract. And you talk about this a lot in the book. The message, which is what are you saying to that market, and in order to differentiate yourself and make yourself stand out and be a little different than everyone else that's trying to sell them plumbing, HVAC, and home service related services. And then the media. So the media being the direct mail or the yellow pages or the internet marketing or the pay-per-click advertising. And when you've got those three things really well fleshed out, you can have tremendous success and really drive almost as many leads as you want. So when you look at the target market for your company and or some of your top clients, what do you find are the characteristics of the ideal target market for these types of home services?
Okay, I'm going to give you the classic consultant answer here, which is, it depends.
Yep.
I'm sorry for that. I had to trot that one out only because if I work with, my company was in residential, commercial, and industrial. So we served three segments. And that takes a hell of a lot of training, to say the least, to be able to serve three markets. If you're just a residential contractor, it makes it a little easier. Yep. If you're a commercial contractor, it makes it a little easier. But more and more people who are commercial want to get residential, more residential want to get commercial. And this is where what you have here depicted in this triangle is really comes down to, you've got to have, and they're separate. You can't throw them together.
Yep.
The classic, when I was my marketing guru, Leo, told me years back, was say something to someone or you risk saying nothing to everybody. And so this one-size message fits all does not work. And so you may have more than one who. That's where I would say that looking under the cover a little bit, you got to kind of make the differentiation. So if in my case, going back to when I was the contractor, my market, again, had residential, commercial, industrial, and I always ran separate pieces and separate contacts and separate methods to get to those three markets. But I also knew is, for me, I will cut to the chase. What I preach to my contractors is the only way you can make real money and be able to charge what you need to be in business and make a profit, which is the reason to be in business, is you have to be working for the end user. In other words, that just means somebody who cares that you'll be back, show up, be clean, drug tested, all of those kinds of things. So commercial, if one of the places I work with is up in Boston, if the health club goes down and nobody can use the showers or the place is a sweat box, they'll be screaming, but they're going to be paying. You follow what I'm saying, Josh?
Absolutely.
Because that's who I want to work for. But if I have to work for the middleman, general contractors and such, and I'm not saying that they're not bad guys, but the only way they make any money is to keep your prices down so they can fit in as a middleman. Same thing goes for management companies and such. Yep. So we have to be very clear on the who. And the same thing goes, just using residential is a pretty clear thing, is if you're interested in clean, neat, drug-tested, criminal background, and somebody's going to come back if and when there's a problem, and people who have been trained at the company, not at your house while you're paying them, I'm your guy. That was how we went to market.
Okay. So that's kind of the message that you put out. So if we look at residential as the example, and kind of, obviously commercial and industrial is a completely different ballgame, what were some of the demographics and psychographics of the residential customer you were going after in your market?
Well, back then it was, 30 to 50 was the sweet spot for us.
Okay.
Because way back when, when Home Depot was first starting, it was, you can do it, we can help. Well, have you noticed they changed their tagline? Because people have kind of gotten to the point where they don't want to do it anymore. Right. They'd rather pay you.
Sure.
We're working harder, working longer. I mean, nobody gets to go home these days where their iPhone isn't blowing up, or emails, text, and everything else of that nature. So that's what I think is really important to people is and the other thing is, can you serve them on their schedule, not yours?
Yeah.
So a lot of times people blame their marketing because they generate calls. Well, they don't generate calls when you would like it to happen.
Right.
They have a problem now at 10 o'clock at night. Are you set up to be able to serve them on their schedule?
Right.
So that's really kind of what we were so good at. The great Frank Blau, who was Ellen's mentor, told me one time, and of course, like most good client contractor sharing of information, we were at a Nexstar seminar years back, and of course we were in a bar late at night.
So
and
all the good learning happens, right?
All the good learning happens, and said to Frank, I said, how do you handle after hours? And he goes, Al, after hours accounts for 40% of my profitability. Think about that for a minute. And I always preach to my contractors is that, I'd love to tell you have to be great after 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Reality is you just have to be good, because what do they get around most towns in areas that, they get a recording or an answering machine, or push them through a telephone tree. But if you have a live CSR who has your scripts in the manuals that I write and has been trained so that we're really living by 7 to 7 is normal service, no after-hour charges and such. Saturday, just kind of like your car. Think about how cars have changed these days, getting your car serviced. It used to be in the old days, it was 8 to 3, and you better show up because you're not going to get your car after 3 o'clock, and they're not open on weekends. Well, that has sailed. That has sailed. And the same thing has to sail in our industry.
No doubt. So do you have any suggestions on how to staff up or how to handle those after hours and weekend calls that start to become such a burden for these owners?
Yeah, I think first of all, if you leave it to the techs, they either want to come in from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. because most of us are early risers, even 8 to 5. There's a logistical bottleneck that happens anyway. So if you have 5, 10, 15, 20 guys, and they all come in at the same time, they have to see you, they have to see the service manager, install manager. How do you handle that many people in your face? The answer is you can't. And people would like to get served a little earlier so they can go off to work. So what we've set up were shifts 7 to 4, 8 to 5, and the next shift we put in was 10 to 7. Because if you watch how well you convert calls, after 3 o'clock, techs have already figured out they've had enough, and so they're just going to skip and shortcut the end of the day calls. But if you have a guy who's on from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m., he's already out there. He might as well go make some money.
Yeah.
So that's one of my tips and tricks about how to do it. Now, how to build staff is a whole other subject because it comes out of planning power, operating power, staffing power. They all kind of lead to each other.
Yep.
But I didn't want to run too far afield here. But the point about it is, if you look like, smell like, act like your competition, you're not worth any more money. So what are you going to be different about? And that was what we set apart. We got dressed, we cleaned our uniforms up, cleaned our trucks, got a great truck design. We decided to train our guys at our shop rather than you paying them when I come to your house and they have to learn on the job, which is when you ask most guys, how do you train your guys? They all laugh and they go, on the job training. Have you heard that expression, Josh?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so what you're really doing is punishing your customers. So if you are bringing that out, then that's where those headlines and ruiners are the guys who come to your house learning on your time or on theirs.
Right.
So this is where the message gets really cool.
Yeah. Start to create a little bit of pain around that headache.
Yes. And I don't want to make this sound draconian or bad, but the reality is, how can you watch TV and not see these drug commercials? I didn't even know I had such a thing as restless leg syndrome until they put it on TV and all these other kinds of things. It's amazing any of us can get out of bed in the morning, but they have to put you in the area of awareness, whether you won't know about the pill. So that's kind of what we do. We have to agitate and remove, agitate, remove. That's kind of what the aspect of our things are. But it starts, if we could spend a second here, is I did it 100 years ago, and what I did is I just put a line down the page about what my competition did really well and what do I need to do to be different.
Okay.
Because if you can't do it on paper, and if you are, a computer person, do it on your iPad, do whatever else is. But yeah, what is unique about you? And the USP, which you're talking about here, is if you can't tell me in the space of an elevator ride, which is why they call it an elevator speech, you can't tell me.
Right.
So looking at you, dressed up in your green shirt, plumber SEO, I look over you in the elevator and I go, so what's plumber SEO about and why should I use you? And in the space of the elevator ride, when the door opens, I know who you are and why I need to get in touch with you.
Yep. Absolutely. So what was your elevator speech for your previous company?
So my elevator speech is, if it's important to have clean, drug-tested people that have manuals, no matter who comes, they'll all be trained. They've been trained at our own training center, not your house. We're the right company. We serve you on your schedule, and if there's a problem, we're coming back to make it right.
Nice. Yep.
I did speed that up because it was more to it, but that's the problem was, some of us just keep throwing, I ask guys to write, one of the exercises I do with my clients is 10 great reasons to use you. It's actually a sales and marketing, which this conversation is going to evolve to is, if you're not good at sales, it's going to sabotage your marketing. If you're not good at marketing, it's going to sabotage your sales. Mm-hmm. They're one coin and you're on both sides. Because my feeling is if I can't sell to you, Josh, my ideal customer, then there's no way I can sell to 10, 100, 1,000, a million of you. So I really got to know what makes Josh tick, what's important to Josh, what does he care about. And sometimes he doesn't even know what he cares about. So some of that's my own running calls, being out there, talking to enough Josh-type people that I can make a targeted, direct message. And that is that unique selling proposition. So you saw that one came off my tongue pretty well, and I haven't done it in quite a while.
It came off.
It was ingrained on my chest.
Real crisp. I think the listeners will have to play back in slow motion a couple times in order to really get it. But that was probably the best honed USP that I've heard in quite some time. So that's pretty awesome. That's probably one of the reasons the company was so successful. Well,
I'll tell you that it's great for an owner to know it. But if you had tested my guys back then one by one, they would know it too.
Wow.
Because I worked really hard at making sure that they were clear. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One is, yes, they've got to be able to exude that. They have to be able to, repeat what that message is. But it also, when they felt it, they got their head up higher and their chest out. And confidence is really a very attractive thing in sales and marketing.
Absolutely. So that's pretty powerful, right, guys? So get clear on your target market, and it's typically homeowners. It's people 30 to 50, like you said. It's going to be different on a market by market basis. Get clear on what's important to them. What are their pain points? What are they looking for when they need your services? And then come up with a really strong USP like the one he just shared that talks to those pain points. That way they're like, yeah, I do want someone that's going to answer live, that's going to show up on time, that's going to be background tested. And really, he hits all of those hot buttons really effectively in the USP he just shared with us.
Yeah, and I think I serve from coast to coast and now Canada. And you'd love to think, oh, no, it's different in my area. Josh, people are people.
Yep.
Those are important. If you're off at work and I'm coming to your house, would you like to know the guy I sent to your house, your wife and your kids, is criminal background drug tested? Because I'm betting you would.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do they put on the shoe covers? Do they cover the floor? Do they clean up after themselves, or are you going to have to clean up after them?
Yep.
That's going to bother you. So I know all of the pain points.
Nice.
And it's different with different age brackets, but my customer it was funny. Could I share a quick story?
Please.
Yeah, so I was in the heating business alone years ago because that's where my dad and my uncle had started it. And it was crazy busy unless it wasn't. And sometimes, you'd have a great winter and sometimes you didn't. And that would be a cash flow issue, which is what drove us to get into the plumbing, gas, heating, air conditioning business way back then. And so my friends who had already jumped from heating only to these other things had said, Al, you think you've heard screaming when people have no heat? Wait till you hear what they sound like when they have no air conditioning. He said, but here's the good news. The louder the scream, the more they're willing to pay. That is true. Because the more uncomfortable they are and the more important it is, the more that they're willing to, get it done. It's not about shopping around and price shopping. Now, everybody wants good value. And so what comes as a price objection, more times than not, is because you didn't do enough of a good job of building value.
Yep.
And besides you coming back, circling here for marketing, which is so critical, is that if you just rely on the power of your words and not using client testimonials, and the best client testimonials that I teach to my clients is the same thing I practice, which is their full name, what town they're in, and a picture of them. And if you take the picture, 50 to 75% of the photo is them, not the equipment, not the stuff. How many of you have you seen, Josh, in all of their campaigns, it's all about the equipment, like the regular person cares about the equipment?
Yeah, they don't care about that hydrojetting system or that they want to see the owner in their face and the reality of the situation.
Yes, that's exactly what they want. They want these people with a smile on their face saying, oh, I called late at night. I didn't think I would get anybody with an answering machine. Sure enough, Al showed up, made it my life great. We'd never use anybody else. Some of the best testimonials is a little bit more than we want to spend, but we would never use anybody else. So it's amazing what they can do. One of my funniest testimonials, one of my clients, was they do an underground thing where you don't have to break up the whole front yard to change the sewer line. They call it a reline. And he got his two customers. Here's the power of good communications and what customers will do. They were so happy that this guy saved their tree that was in the family for 100 years. He got them to hold hands around the tree. Can you see this visual in your head?
Yep.
Now, how easy is it to sell relines off the power of that?
Yeah.
So whatever it is that you're marketing, the way to drive it home, in my opinion, is to get client testimonials, preferably with a picture, and get permission to use their name and that, not street address, just the name and town, because that way they feel like it's local. It's a weird kind of thing because depending on how big your service area is, Josh, that affects it too. So in our area, we went from the 59th Street Bridge, which is Brooklyn, all the way out to Suffolk County, which is out towards the Hamptons.
Wow.
They call it Long Island because it's 115 miles tip to tip.
That's long.
So if I have it's long, and New York City traffic too, so add a little more to that. But if I run a testimonial from somebody in Brooklyn for somebody who's all the way out 115 miles away, it doesn't have the same power. And so I share, you can't get enough good customer testimonials. Customer testimonials for your marketing go under the three flavors. One is how great a product or service that you did that made their life better.
Yep.
Two is how good is the company you are. You're faster, neater, cleaner, smarter, whatever. And sometimes you get the home run, which is a great product and service and great people, great whatever. I'm so great about your company. But just start filling that hopper up. And this goes through the systematic, if I can, I wanted to kind of dive into what I refer to as systematized marketing, a system.
Yeah, so I want to dive further into that, but I think, the power of social proof is what he's talking about, reviews, testimonials, infusing that into your message. So have a great USP that speaks to the hot buttons, but when you're advertising that USP, use social proof, use your customers' testimonials and online reviews to make that believable. Because anybody can say they're going to show up on time, they're going to provide great quality, their guys are going to be background checked. But when you have your customers say it, it becomes believable, right?
Oh, yeah, you so got that right. Josh. Thanks for restating it, because that's it. And today, customer testimonials, well, let's say they should be on your website. Mm-hmm. They should be in your sales materials. But what Josh is speaking to is they've already done their checking you out online way before they ever picked up a phone and called you.
Yep.
And so they're looking to see how many reviews are out there. It's funny, I travel again all over the place. So it used to be in the old days, I would ask if I was coming down to Florida to visit Josh, so where's a good place to eat? I don't even ask anymore.
Right.
You know where I'm going straight to Yelp.
Exactly.
So what is Yelp? Yelp is exactly what we just talked about. Is I look to see if there's a lot of testimonials, recognizing that some people will never be happy and some people are effusive and might even be the owner's kid that's writing some of these testimonials. So I look for a number of them. Mm-hmm. And I look at the number of and their enthusiasm to share and how well the ranking comes out. So that's what today is in all these different avenues without saying there's different ways to get that. But how well are you coming out on top with great reviews is going to affect whatever marketing you're going to do.
Absolutely. And then take those reviews and infuse them into the website, into the direct mail, into the ads that you're running. Because when you've got the message right and you've got the market clearly defined, then you can go to town with the media and all of the different sexy tools there are to get your message out. So let's talk a little bit about the media mix that you're finding most effective for your clients and for your previous company as well.
Yeah, so it's funny to say, but 10 years ago is 1,000 years ago in marketing.
Yeah.
So Yellow Pages 10 years ago was still a viable source of plowing a lot of money into.
Yep.
The reality to it also was, depending on where you were, because you ran double truck ads, it was either a way to get really rich or go broke really quick.
Right.
Because if there were 15 companies in your area and they had to be where you were positioned in the double truck ads would affect it.
Yeah.
So there's kind of that. I think direct mail to me, oversized postcards, really done well in the formula that I described briefly as we were doing, is a really good way where there's nothing to open. If you're looking to go to new customers, you're not marketing to your own people. Really good direct mail has worked effectively if you follow the rules of direct mail. So customers that are using that have found good success. As far as the Valpak,
can you use that acronym for us again one more time? Because I thought it was really, really interesting. And now that we're talking about media and direct mail being a media that you've been able to prove out as effective, you had a great acronym for what the elements were for your direct mail to work well.
Yeah, which goes to all marketing, but in particular in direct mail. Oversized postcards, because the bigger postcard wins. Otherwise, it gets lost in the pile of mail. Mm-hmm. Second thing is a really good headline, or what I call a ruiner, R-U-I-N-E-R.
Yep.
Something that stops me in my tracks and get me to read. So I'll just take with Josh. Josh, if I could teach you how to make twice as much money in half as much time, would you like to know?
Yes.
Yeah, so Josh has got to read on, right?
Yeah.
So great headlines, great ruiners. And one of the best is questions. Short questions are always really good because they typically demand an answer. And so there's pressure building for you as a reader to read on. Then I said a little bit of plain English copy, followed by a picture and testimonial, and at the end, a really great call to action.
Yeah.
So the downside is jamming your postcard up with too much copy. We're all lazy these days, including yours truly. We're not going to read a lot. So think of your direct mail postcard as a really good looking truck and a really good looking logo. If you fill it up with 1,000 things, my eye doesn't know where to go, so I just quit. I won't even look at it. That's a giant mistake of which marketing is really good looking trucks, really a great color, great design gets my attention. I know what your name is. I know what you do. I'll find you. That's kind of the essence of what I would say. The other thing is the direct mail is I have to have 3 touches over 6 weeks to know whether it did or didn't work, which is why I recommend don't send out 35,000 cards, 50,000 cards to find out it didn't work 3 times, that 150,000 pieces. Do a direct mail marketing where you have 1,000 pieces. You can have A/B marketing, which just is a fancy way with 2 different headlines.
Yep.
And find out which one gets traction. That's how you really make direct mail work.
Mm-hmm.
But testimonial is big glue in that.
Yep. Okay, so we were about to talk about Valpak a little bit, I think, after I kind of interrupted you and lost the flow.
No. I appreciate that because you have a better sense of it. Valpak, I've had pluses and minuses. It depends on, you have to have a really attractive, low cost, in my opinion, this is my opinion, low cost thing that will make you do it because you're buried in something that is by nature value. So if there's something that you want to use as a breadcrumb to lead in, that's a good avenue. Otherwise, it might be something that you don't want to invest in. And my thing here about is my marketing thing is in writing, which is marketing plan, which is a marketing budget, percentage of sales. Marketing allocation means the majority of your money, not all of your marketing money, but the majority of your marketing money can only go to 3 vehicles. So you've got a pretty good list here. And of course, the list, there's only about 1 million ways to go to market these days.
Right.
But 3 of those have to get enough money and enough heft to get any traction. And we'll talk a little bit more. So that's my quick answer on Valpak. Yellow Pages I touched with. We were never strong in Yellow Pages for the following reason. Is I had 2,000 competitors in where I was. So it was hard to get to the front. Second of all, it wasn't a good place for me to really go into depth about what was different about us, because that's really more just give me the facts kind of thing. So Yellow Pages we needed to be there years ago, but we didn't need to be dominant.
Okay.
This was a place to kind of find us. But as soon as the internet took off, we were pretty much really plowing money out of that. And because also the Yellow Pages gets us calls when we're already busy, which isn't what I like alone. Now, there are certain big medias you have to do that get you calls when they come. And then if you can have what I call turn it on, turn it off marketing, like direct mail. Yeah. But they've got to be up. So the third part of it's marketing budget, marketing allocation, and the place that most contractors fall down is marketing calendar, which is just a proactive calendar every year, typically in Outlook or Google Calendar, where you are putting in, so I want you to have 3 touches by, let's say, September 1st. Josh, I got to have 3 reminders in there, backed up, so that the cards are ready. They've got all the testimonials, they're in good shape, and these mailings are going out. Or otherwise, September 1st comes, and everybody in the office goes, hey, phones are dead. Hey, Josh, did you ever get those cards up? The ones we needed to get out? And it just falls off the cliff.
Right.
Marketing calendar of the 3 things, marketing budget, percentage sales, marketing allocation, 3 main ways to go to market, marketing calendar. Marketing calendar is where most guys mess up.
Yeah.
They're not proactively marketing throughout the year.
Yep.
Okay, so I kind of covered Yellow Pages. TV.
Can I come back to something real quick? Because you covered it really nicely in the book. I don't know if you're comfortable covering it on this, but it's a question that comes up all the time, which is how much of my revenue should I be reinvesting back into marketing? I don't know if you can address
excellent. That. I can, and I would love to.
Great.
I'm trying to be respectful of time. So the marketing budget, and again, guys, just take this as a rule of thumb, but it's a rule of thumb that I knew from my 26 years of work and now 50 years doing this with contractors all over the place. 4% of annual sales. Let's put some easy math there. If I am $1 million company, and I say, well, you know what, I'm going to put 4% of my budget towards marketing, that means I'm only putting $40,000 a year into marketing. Now, that is all that 4% would get you in general is customers leave you, they quit for one reason or other, people move away. There's all these different reasons that would cause you to just want to replace the amount of calls that you've lost. So that's the low bar, if you will.
Just to kind of keep things status quo.
Yes, yes, just to keep where you are. So we were in a lucky position. We had more calls than we could usually do in the day. We didn't have to necessarily be proactive. And we had a lot of network marketing and a whole bunch of other things going on. But if you really want to grow your company aggressively, 4% is not likely to do it.
Yeah.
So when do you start hitting the threshold of being more aggressive? Is typically 10%. So again, math, $1 million sales, a guy would have to spend $100,000 in marketing. There's another piece that goes to this, which is what counts. So if I tell Josh at his company that he has to buy bigger trucks that act like rolling billboards, have a great truck design, and spend $4,000 in decals that are going to be on his trucks for the next 3 to 5 years, because they roll around in the service area you want to be, is that marketing or truck expense? And the answer again is it depends, because whatever you say from here on out, that's what you got to count as part of your marketing budget. So this 4% can go pretty quick if you're not really focused, and if you're not really clear about what is and isn't marketing. How about uniforms? If I change the uniforms, put the guys in great stuff and they're walking billboards, does that count? And the answer is it does if you make it count. But not enough fuel in the tank. Don't expect to drive your company very far. You've got to put money into marketing. Now, how you spend it, that's marketing budget. How you spend it is the allocation we're talking about, the 3 main drivers, and then whatever else you want to do, and marketing calendar. Does that kind of cover what you wanted, or do you?
No, yeah, that was beautiful, because it's a question that comes up a lot, and I think kind of you summed it up nicely. You know, somewhere between 4 and 10%. You know, 4 being this is going to keep you ahead of the attrition in your business. 10% if you really want to aggressively move the needle forward, and probably most contractors somewhere in the middle, right? Somewhere between 6 and 8%.
Yeah, some of the bigger, faster growers that I've worked with in Nexstar and other places, they get up to 15 and 20.
Wow.
And it only matters as long as you know, that's why Ellen is so important, is financial power. If it's in your marketing budget, and you're depending on your growth desires, and of course, in my case, the reason that they're in touch with me is how can you also make run the calls? How do you build staff so that you can just getting the phone call, getting the marketing funnel filled is a great thing, but you've actually got to go out and turn the calls to make the money.
Yep, absolutely. And so I think that's pretty nice the way you systematize this down. And it's a complex concept, but really it comes down to figure out your budget allocation, right? Set up a calendar.
Yeah.
That way throughout the year you're clear. This is what we're going to do January, February, March, April, May. Kind of make sure you know what the milestones are and what has to get done. And really, out of the thousands, or let's just call it, out of the 20 plus really strategic marketing initiatives you could put in place, boil it down to your top 3, kind of is what you're suggesting.
Yes, the majority of your money has to go to fund those 3 to find out if they really are making a difference.
Nice. And so what would you say in your experience, and this might be hard to answer, it's going to be one of those it depends, what would you say are the top 3 to 5 that tend to be most effective in today's economy?
I think that my 3 favorite drivers, and then I'll come back to this question, which my favorite 3 drivers today is SEO, SEM, search engine optimization, search engine marketing, okay. But done right.
Yeah.
And that's something I know that touches into your area, because I learned years ago, which is, pay-per-clicks it's just kind of like the yellow pages, which can make you really rich or really broke if you're not clear on how many clicks. So here's a good example. Josh has a company in Florida, and I'm in Arizona. And I go, it's a good company. Josh's plumbing company is not coming out to Arizona to run a call today. So being able to repel the wrong people is part of that pay-per-click program.
Yep.
So it's attraction and repelling. So there's some keys to that.
Mm-hmm.
But a really good SEO, SEM, kind of what we tied to the rest, is always one of my favorites. I'm a very strong believer in acquisition of companies. And the reason I believe in acquisition is because if my dad and my uncle, our area went under urban renewal, which just means they came in and plowed it out. And if my dad and my uncle hadn't gone out and bought companies, there would not have been a business by the time my brothers and I showed up. Now, acquisition has to be done right too, which is the price to pay, and you have to learn how to. Sometimes it's as simple as Josh is the owner-operator. I buy his company. I pay him when the calls convert, so there's no money out of pocket. Or you're buying a real company, cents on a dollar, and there's a lot lot to it. But here's what's beautiful about acquisition is any marketing you do is hope that somebody would call. Acquisition is acquiring customers who are trained to call. So that's why Ellen and I talk about that so frequently. So that's another good one. And I am a fan of direct mail postcards that I was just talking about.
Okay.
Tied together with great headlines, good plain copy, testimonial, good call to action. Those are some typical things. Now, if you are looking to go upstream and you're willing to put some real money on the table, a really good radio campaign, a really good TV campaign. But here's what you have to know. If you're not willing to be in it a minimum of 6 months, you're really wasting your money, because you'll pull the plug on this campaign just before it starts to reap any results.
Mm-hmm.
So for those guys who've worked with me who have done that, I found that it really doesn't start to kick in until about sometimes 8 months to a year before they really know how effective. One of the things you want to be looking for is what we call 3 frequency, which means in the market they either see you 3 times or hear you 3 times. So that, again, that's why it's funding the 3 drivers, whichever 3 drivers you come down on. Now, it too has to have a great headline. That's shocking.
Yep.
It does have to have a really great, testimonial and callback. So you can see how this is ad nauseum is starting to repeat on itself, right? Because there's some basic good marketing, just matters how you're going out to it. So those are pretty quick. Now, on TV, also, by the way, I would caution you today is, first of all, the great news is there's a ton of stations you can do versus the old days. Mm-hmm. The bad news is there's a ton of stations for them to find you. That's why people pay up so much to be on, sports and also on news shows on TV, because they're live. People aren't using DVRs and going past it. If you do select to be on a TV show that can be DVR'd, your ad has to have a banner. So even when they fast forward, they still see your name.
Okay, that's a good idea. That's a good tip. If you are going to do it, make sure you got a banner on the DVR. At least they're seeing your brand at some level.
That's correct. Yes.
Excellent. So you consider acquisition to be a marketing expense?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
It's all about getting calls. At the end, for those who've worked with me for a long period of time, when we first start, there's 125 things to do. At the end, there's really 2 things to do, which is either make more text, which means, get them good at sales, operation, technical,
mm-hmm.
and make calls, which in my case, what I preach for marketing is it's the right amount of calls at the right time from the right customer. So the 3 rights of marketing.
Nice.
3 rights of marketing is what you want to obey.
So kind of also interesting in the whole marketing mix thing, you just shared what you think your top 3 are. It's also good to know what's not effective and what doesn't work. Are there any marketing initiatives that you might have thought were effective 5, 10, 15 years ago that you're finding just aren't as effective today?
Yellow pages front and center. Let me share the myth to this. People go, 50 and older, they're used to using the yellow pages. Well, my wife and I are older than 50, and we never use the yellow pages.
Right.
We go to Google.
Yeah.
All roads go through Google, so we can search, we can blow up the size of the copy, and we can do what we need to do. So I asked my wife, I said, do me a favor, ask your friend. And the answer all came back, none of them use the yellow pages other than to keep their door open because it's a book in front of their way. So that would be one of the vehicles that I don't think works.
Okay.
Now, I don't know, look, the billboards, we did a thing called, can we have a second to talk about burst marketing?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So when we changed our name years ago, we had there's a long story to this, and it's actually in the book, Josh, that you read. Mm-hmm. But when we consolidated all our companies through acquisition into one name, that was the time we did burst marketing. And burst marketing is basically, we spent a ton of money over a short period of time so that no matter where you went, the train station, on the buses, a billboard, a radio commercial, even to the point where you opened up your refrigerator, there was a milk carton and we were on it.
Jeez.
So we surrounded you. But it was only designed to be a burst to get into your head so that we could do this, because we wanted to get our name out and the rest of the kinds of things. Years and years ago, Purdue Chicken did an enormous amount of advertising. They really do next to nothing anymore.
I remember I had a conversation about this the other day. It seemed like, what happened to Purdue? Because they were everywhere.
Exactly. So that's burst marketing. So if you think of it like a chart, there's this huge burst up, and then you back off, versus drip marketing, which is a little. So if somebody was going to contact you, Josh, and said, you know what, we really want to get some real estate, we got to ramp up fast, we want to put X amount of dollars in and really move the needle quickly, you might hold them off and go, well, we could put a lot of money to waste it. Let's find out what it is and working. And when it is, then we can really put a lot of money to work. So that's what I wanted to talk about is burst.
So in what scenario does the burst marketing make sense to activate as opposed to the drip?
Yeah, burst marketing would. So let's say you're going into a new area, or you want to expand into a new area. That's a place where you kind of go and you don't have a hub, or you're opening up a smoke shop.
Yep,
that'd be a great scenario. Or you're taking on a new trade. So we're in plumbing, and now we're going in HVAC. So that's a great time to hit a burst.
Got it.
Because people see you as a plumber. They don't see you as a plumbing, heating, cooling company. So those are some just quick ways where burst marketing kind of comes in.
Awesome. I think there's some tremendous insights here on ideas to be more effective with your marketing, how to allocate your marketing dollars. The book, has a couple of really great chapters just on this topic. But if you don't mind, you can just kind of give us the big picture. Tell us about Appleseed Business and kind of what you're all about.
Well, again, when I was at work years ago at my own company, we did some great things. We cleaned ourselves up, got in good uniforms, got ourselves dressed professionally, started to look at the company from a 360 view about how to start planning for things. We put manuals together that told everybody, not just the techs, everybody, wherever you are in the company. It took me 1 year to write the outline, just the outline.
Wow. For
what it took to operate the company, from AR, AP, accounts receivable, accounts payable, every aspect of it. Trying to cover 80%, never 100% of what we're doing. And then in terms of planning, which was just, what is the 5 most important projects we need to be working at any given time to make real progress. So planning and operations and staffing we create a training center, training curriculum, leverage the manuals so that we could do 3 things: find the holes in people, fix them, find new hired people who told you they could do everything and find out what they couldn't do faster and fix the holes. But ultimately, the great growth, the great freedom came from building people who were willing with no skills into people who were great with skills. So those are some of the things, and that's what my clients are talking about. So when I went off, at a point I realized I had done what I needed to do, and I got so good at my own job, Josh, that I replaced myself.
It's awesome.
At my own company, which is a nice thing to do. And
absolutely.
And I was free to go out, and because I just bet that this would work for other people. I just knew it because, again, there were days where it was just so stressful. I don't know any other way to say it, which is why the tagline was less stress, more success. Because most of us as contractors don't feel that day to day. Now, some of us are lucky enough to be making money, but it just takes so much. One of the clients I first worked with, a great company, he said to me, you know what I'm like, Al? I said, no. He goes, I'm like a swan on a pond. You see me gliding, but underneath my feet are furiously going.
Yep.
He says, and I want to be able to stop that. So this is what systems can do for you. And marketing, like we've been talking about here today, is a system. It's just one of the 7 systems you need.
Beautiful. And so that's what you're doing in Appleseed, helping other contractors apply what you learned and really systematize their business in that same way.
Yeah. And, this goes back to when I first started January 2002, which is I write for Plumbing Mechanical since then. And I've also, did a lot of speaking. I did a lot of seminars, webinars. I do webinars with Ellen Rohr, financial expert. And we've done a lot of things together. And then I started to work one-to-one with clients. I could only handle so many because it was always designed to be me in this business, teaching side by side, small companies, big companies, coast to coast, now Canada. And then I've reached the point where I want to help more people. There were people that I couldn't reach as well because I can't work with everybody except in a format of webinars and seminars. But I knew first and foremost, if I could boil down my stuff, and the book is 1/20th at most of all the things that I have. And if it wasn't for the great editor, Alina, that helped me, I would have overloaded it. It's really hard to write a short, tight book like you read, Josh.
Yeah.
I hope it comes across that way.
No, yeah,
wanted it.
You took a tremendous amount of information and consolidated it into something you could read in an evening.
Yeah, and that was really my goal. We as contractors are crazy busy. And so if I wrote a 500-page book, what good was that?
Yeah.
My goal was 150 pages or less, that you could read it and you could put this stuff into action right away and make your life better, but your company life better, and frankly, your customers. Because my goal is a three-way win here, which is your customers win, your company wins, so you and all your employees can win.
Mm-hmm.
That's the great long-term connection.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I think the book is invaluable. Like you said, he took all of this experience and expertise, consolidated it. It is something you can literally read in an afternoon and say, okay, yes, these are insights. You can go back, hit the ground running, and implement. You can get a copy of the book by going to the best place is appleseedbusiness.com/7PC. Is that right, Al?
That's the best place to get. It's available for handheld devices there, as well as the paperback for those who are like me. And yes, the paperback can actually you can carry it around without breaking your arm. It's a good tight read.
And so again, that's appleseedbusiness.com. In case you're listening, appleseedbusiness.com/7PC. So that's 7 power contractor. And I think there's some bonuses they get when they get the book there instead of What else?
And that's a good. Yeah, what they do, you can also get it on Amazon. But what's great about going here is that there's bonus material. I wanted to share with guys, things like organizational charts, and trying to fill up the book, and it really wouldn't be useful and just would have slowed you down. So when you get finished with the read, there's a simple link to do, and you can get this material and get the bonus material and get it downloaded to your own file.
Awesome. Any other insights or last nuggets of wisdom you want to share with that plumbing or HVAC contractor that is trying to get to the next level and just struggling potentially?
I think related to the marketing aspect of it is if you're already good working with people one-to-one and you know how they tick, then you just got to get down to some paper and follow the really good thing that you had about the marketing, the who, the what, that, and then you get to the how. So it's almost like you have it as a triangle. I would almost have it as a funnel. Top of the funnel is until you know the who, don't bother looking for the rest of it. You got to know what makes them tick, what's important to them. These are the things to make your marketing great. Mm-hmm. And then you can reach out to people like Josh who can really drive your marketing with you. But you, and what I was sharing with Josh prior to this call, in your organizational chart, marketing manager is a role that you as the owner will always have. Always. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean you have to do the marketing. I don't even recommend that. It just means that you have to be able to communicate with somebody who's doing the marketing for you about what you want and when you want it and who is it, because nobody can take that without your help.
Yep. You can't abdicate the marketing, right? As the owner of the company,
you cannot.
That's on you. You got to make those decisions. And then, of course, like you said, tap on the experts to help implement. But it's still it's got to be your baby to run with.
That's correct. That is financial. Being in charge of making sure we charge enough and there's more money than in the bank and loans. Those are the two roles on my org chart, which is one of the things I have as one of the bonuses is a basic organizational chart, nice and flat to run your company.
Nice.
But you're going to be in those two boxes, and rightfully so.
Absolutely. Well, Al, thank you so much for coming on today's episode. I think there's some tremendous insights, and the listeners will get great value from it. Guys, get his book. This will really change the way that you think about and operate your business at a minimum. You can get that at appleseedbusiness.com/7PC. Any other way for them to contact you, Al, if they want to reach out and learn more? Should they just go to the website?
Yeah. Yeah, the website is the best. If you want to, one thing when I first left January 2002 is I realized, there's times as a contractor it's very lonely, and you just beat your head against the wall sometimes. And so I made a pledge that, because so many great people came into my life, Josh, if not for people like Ellen and like Dan Howell, like the list is long, I would still be in the basement turning wrenches till 2 a.m. And so I offer a free 30-minute phone call, no obligation. Fill out that thing. It's on the bottom right-hand side of my on my website on the home page, and I will be happy to set up a phone call and we'll talk about your business.
Awesome. That's an offer, almost an invaluable offer. You get 30 minutes of Al's time for free. You can't beat that. So go to his website, get a copy of the book, schedule a one-on-one with him for 30 minutes. Al, again, this has been tremendous. I really appreciate you taking the time. If you'd like to subscribe to the podcast, we do interviews like this with highly successful plumbing, HVAC business owners, and influencers on a consistent basis. You can register and subscribe for free at plumbingmarketing.net. And thank you so much for joining us on another information-packed episode, and we'll see you again next time.